This is the assembly video for these two cards. Now, I made them intending them to be Christmas thank you notes, but Stampin' Up! Does not allow us to put a sentiment in the kits. So you're going to come up with your own sentiment, and you can turn these into any kind of card that you want to. I'm going to start with this one first. So these are the parts that you're going to have inside of your envelope. Now, I've pulled out just for one card. Your plastic envelope should actually have the parts to make two of each card. The folded over Post-it note protected your rhinestones. There should be some gold cord. There should be a vanilla circle that will fit nicely inside of the gold doily. And then there should be this embossed piece. Warning, pay attention to the sides. There is a right and wrong side to this embossed piece. You want the one that looks like the trees are raised up, not the one where it looks like the trees are pressed into the paper. So this is the back side. Order of operations is first stamp, then glue these two together. Second will be to wrap the cord around the green sheet and adhere all the parts together. And last will be to put on the rhinestones. I found a little thank you in the Queen Anne's lace stamp set, but I'm sure that in your stash you have lots of sentiments that are the right size to fit on that circle. Black ink would be just fine. This color is Mossy Meadow, so I'm actually going to use my Mossy Meadow ink. All right, you might notice that I popped this a little higher than center, and that's because I am going to come back and put those rhinestones in, so I wanted to leave enough room. All right, when I'm putting my word on, the one thing that you might want to think about as you're paying attention is symmetry. I don't know if your eye is bothered by things being lined up, but the little scallops on this doily are not opposite each other. So the scallop down here is opposite the hole up here, which means I have to decide when I put this on. I don't want it to be like a little bit off from 90 degrees. I either want that big scallop there and the hole up there, or I want to put the hole down here and the big scallop up there. And I think for myself, this is my choice. But again, if you're bothered by geometry and lines, that's something to pay attention to before you pop this on. All right, that's ready to go on my card. The rhinestones will be last just because they're lumpy and it's harder to adhere things together when they have lumps on the front. The next thing is your embossed piece. Again, paying attention to right and wrong sides. What I'm going to do, I get a little overzealous here. You are not going to do what I did. Step one is to lay your adhesive down just on the part where you want your ribbon to be. You can see from the reflections that I actually went through and put my adhesive all the way around. So that's all right. I can still work around that, but the ribbon has to go on before you put this piece on the card. All right, so I have adhesive in the middle. And bear in mind where this is going to sit, because you don't want these your cord to be too low. If the places where they cross are too low in the card, then the bottom of the doily is too far to the bottom. It's not centered exactly top for bottom. I want to be able to see the trees up above it, but it's closer to the center than it is to the bottom of the card. All right, to get this look, this crossed look here, what I do is I start about the highest point, and then I cross it on the middle, so it's diagonally in the middle. There, it's going to go straight across, and then it's going to cross again on the front. And here's where you want to try to get these two about the same level. And then back to the middle, straight across. And you might have a little bit extra that you have to trim off, or maybe I gave you a perfect amount. All right, now it is ready to adhere to the card front. And then this is going to just layer right on top. Now you have the choice of just putting glue on here because this cord is very thin, so it's not going to make lumps or bumps in your doily. But your other option would be to use some dimensionals if you have them. By the way, two things that I just think belong in everybody's craft room because I use them all the time are dimensionals. You can see that my sheet is almost all used up, and glue dots. And I'm going to show you a use for the glue dots right here before I put my my doily on. So if in the process of layering this, if you're bothered by symmetry and it's not, don't worry about it at all. You don't have to pull things apart and try and fix them, because you can use a glue dot to hold that center into a position. It's going to be hidden behind the doily, right? So what you can do is you can just put one little glue dot right there, and then use that to keep that center exactly left-right positioned for the symmetry on where your gold cord is. And then you can add these your doily. Like I say, the gold cord is very thin. It doesn't have much dimension to it at all. So I wouldn't have even needed to have raised this up on dimensionals. The other thing you're going to notice is that I did leave a little bit of space in there so that now that I do have it raised up, it's actually straddling where that knot is. Okay, card is almost done. This one's a super easy one. Bring my take your pick tool back in here. I love this for bringing small things, small adhesive things, and positioning them. So with my fingernails, I just put it right on the tip, and then to get these in a straight line, because your eye is going to be bothered by geometry on this too if it's not a straight line, I put that one in first. Center one in first, and then I know I can go equidistant out from the center one. Now that I have that distance and a visual on it, then I can come the other side and bring the other one in. And again, I just kind of laid that on there, and then I can press down really hard and make sure that they are all in a line. So that is card number one. Now we're ready for card number two. Card number two will be a horizontal card. These are the parts that you've pulled out of your envelope. And again, this is just for one card, so you should have two of everything in here. This piece is going to be for your sentiment, and I'm going to show you a trick for how we're going to use the second piece, which is exactly the same size, but we're going to use that second piece to create this frame right here. You will notice that the pieces were punched from the layer that's going to be your framing layer on the card. Not a problem. I do this all the time as a paper saving thing, but that's going to be, the holes are going to be completely hidden by this front layer. So it is just a non-issue. Whoever you give this card to will never know that there was a hole in that gold piece. Here's one thing you do want to check though before you start gluing things together. Please check and make sure that the green piece was trimmed properly. Here's what I mean. There's a difference in size between the vanilla framing line and the size of the gold framing line. The difference in card size between my gold piece and my vanilla piece was standard, 1/4 inch. I cut this piece, instead of making it a full 1/4 inch smaller, I only cut it 1/8 inch smaller. And I hope that I did that appropriately, so just check. You may find that you might need to trim it down a little bit farther if I didn't take off a full 1/8 of an inch. Just saying, you're checking me. All right, so step one, we're going to do the sentiment. Step two, we're going to put the deer together. And step three, we're going to put the green on the gold and deal with the ribbon, and then we can finish it off. This is a slightly larger piece than the circle on the first card, so I'm going with a slightly larger sentiment. This is also a really fun set. I do like the combination of every word appearing in both big block letters and in real pretty scripty letters. Now, if you've taken any in-person classes with me, you know that I always say to stamp first and then punch. But the fun thing about having the photopolymer stamps is that you can see right through them, so it's easy to line it up on this small piece. All right, let's assemble the sentiment. So what I want to do is to take a scissors and just cut this in half long ways. And then I'm going to put adhesive on the back of my sentiment. Okay, so now we have our sentiment framed. Let's also deal with the deer. Now you can use whatever adhesive you want, but I'm going to put my my antlers behind the deer's head. My husband is a deer hunter, and he told me that there's a right and wrong way on the antlers. In other words, that is the wrong way. Even if I did something like that, he says that a deer's antlers come together in like a bowl or a basket, I guess is the word deer hunters use. I'm not sure. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment and tell me if basket is the right word. Anyway, I'm going to put adhesive on the front side, just a teeny little bit down here on the bottom part of the antler, and then I'm going to stick it to the back of the deer's head. So you can see what I'm going to do. I'm holding it in my hands, I'm taking my adhesive, I'm laying it down there just on the bottom end, and then I'm going to pull it. And what that's done is it laid down a thin bit of the adhesive there, and then I'm going to hold it and just stick it up behind his ear on the left-hand side, and then I can do the one on the other. The fact that this is on foil paper, it is a bit forgiving in that if I decide to reposition, if they thought this was too low, I can always pull that up a little bit. Okay, we'll see if that'll win the big buck contest. Okay, there is my deer. Now, this is going to be raised up. So what I'm going to do to start with and just get it ready is I'm going to bring in, okay, I realize as I'm filming this that I'm going to go back and change up the kits. I'm going to give you some dimensionals. I'm not going to give you the big dimensionals. I'm going to give you some small dimensionals. Stampin' Up! Sells 2 sizes, and the reason that I'm doing this is because you're going to use this dimensional right here. Well, here, let me use my Take Your Pick tool. You're going to use this dimensional to help hold those antlers on from the back side. Okay, and then I can put a couple more of these dimensionals on the body. So this will be a little bonus gift. Most people I know have the regular size dimensionals, but not everybody has the smaller ones. So I'll throw in a little bit of this, and then you can see what the small ones are like. All right, my deer is ready to go. My thanks is ready to go. And actually, we get some really, I don't know why they did this. I don't know why they didn't go out with one more little bit of the dimensionals on the side with the machining process to cut these. But it gives me a really wide layer over here, which is cool for this project, because that way I can come and they tear with the fingers real nicely, or you can cut them with the scissors. But that way I can put some dimensionals on the top and the bottom of that, and then that will just straddle over my ribbon. All right, sentiment's ready to go. Deer is ready to go. Now for this piece, this is just going to get glued on. Again, right and wrong side. I don't know if you watched the first part of this video, but you want the trees facing up. You don't want to have the front with that depression where the trees are. So this is the back side. When I'm working with foil, you just saw me pull my fingers off. I had a little bit of sticky on my fingers. When you're working with foil, you really don't want to get sticky on the front of the foil because it doesn't come off very nicely. It's not pretty afterwards. All right, so this piece is on. Now, this is going to just wrap around. You've got lots of extra. So what I want you to do is to get out your scissors and cut this. You only need about this much on each side to wrap around from the back side, and then the rest of it is going to be used to tie that little knot. So just snip it off right here. Now you have your 2 pieces. Go ahead and adhere this one down low. If you're worried about that not holding it, you can always come in and just use some regular Scotch tape and put it across there. That works just as fine. And those of you who are using liquid glue, you might want to use a little bit of just regular Scotch tape to hold those 2 little ribbon ends on the back side. When I put this sentiment piece on, I want to have the flat parts of it so that it looks like it's well centered over my ribbon. And then I can go ahead and take off the backing for the dimensionals and layer this on. I'm putting that sentiment right about in the center because my deer is going to go. I want to have room for my deer over here. And then the ribbon is going to get knotted on the other side. But let's go ahead and put it on the card to begin with. It's easier to put the adhesive on the back when there's not lumps on the front. All right, the next thing will be to take this little bit of ribbon that we cut off and slip it underneath. And then just tie a knot. And then trim off the ends. So the final thing is to take off the dimensionals and position your deer. So there are 4 gorgeous green and gold cards, elegant thank yous, or whatever sentiment you want. So thank you for purchasing this kit. I hope you have fun making them, and we will catch you with the next kit. Bye.